thing we will be discussing on the linear stages theory of development. Now, what is linear stages theory of development? This is the definition. A theory on economic development that states every country will eventually reach high levels of development as they follow a predetermined timeline. It is a conglomeration of theories about how desirable change in society is best achieved. Now, this is the history of the linear stages theory of development. Now, this linear stages of growth model is an economic model which is heavily inspired by the Marshall Plan of the US, which was used to rehabilitate Europe's economy after the post-World War II crisis. Models are the oldest and most traditional of all development plans. It was an attempt by economists to come up with a suitable concept as to how underdeveloped countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America can transform their agrarian economy into an industrialized one. One of the key thinkers in 20th century development studies was Rostow, an American economist and government official. Prior to Rostow, approaches to development had been based on the assumption that modernization was characterized by the Western world wealthier, more powerful countries at the time, which were able to advance from the initial stages of underdevelopment. The model asserted that all countries exist somewhere on this linear spectrum and climb upward through each stage in the development process. Other countries should model themselves after the West, aspiring to a modern state of capitalism and liberal democracy. Using this, Rostow penned his classic stages of economic development in 1960, which presented 5 steps through which all countries must pass to become developed. First is we have traditional society. Second, we have the preconditions to take off. Third, take off. Fourth, drive to maturity. And fifth, age of high mass consumption. Now we will explore stage number 1, traditional society. This society is very primitive with limited technology and reliance on subsistence farming. People rely on community bartering rather than an advanced banking system. Society is governed by small ruling elites with strong traditional values. So during this time, there is no scientific knowledge applied in farming, no technical knowledge. So in here, everything is manual. Everything is manual during this time. And then they lack support from other communities. That's traditional society. Stage 2, the preconditioned takeoff or transitional stage. People see possibilities for improvement, growing specialization, and commercialization of skill and investment in infrastructure. Growing focus on exports of primary production like mining, farming, and fueling investment through surplus. So in this stage, there is altering of traditional beliefs, challenging old beliefs, growing acceptance of technology, growth and rise of banks, growing efficiency in the context of farming. For stage 3, take off, economic growth becomes self-sustaining. Huge technological advancement, development of the domestic manufacturing sector. The rapid increase in regional cities and service industries, political modernization, and growing domestic demands. Greater spending on education and social overheads. So in this stage, there is bulk of society has come to accept and favor change. In this stage also, there is diffusion of literacy. When you see diffusion of literacy, most of the community members are spending time on education. Because this stage, they believe that education will help them sustain the economy, sustain the growth and development. For stage 4, drive for majority. Range of domestic production widens, replacement of imports with domestic production, import substitution, increasing diversification, and investment from home to abroad. The increasing need for innovation for gain of efficiency in existing techniques. So in here, there is what we call period of sustained change. Technology gradually spread throughout all areas of economic aspects. And then at this time, society adopts changes. Universal education and mental or medical facilities are created. People began to fail in their choice of the living. Then democracy becomes established. So that's stage number 4. And for stage number 5, we have mass of age consumption. The economy becomes heavily geared towards service provision due to exploiting comparative advantages in trade and commerce. High quality world class infrastructures are in existence. Citizens demand durable consumer goods and society becomes highly sophisticated. So, in this stage, sectors shift toward services, especially those of finance, infrastructure, and government. Material production continues, where becomes higher value than standard living on quality of life, broad range of choice for individuals and society. So in stage 5, there is already a staple of investment, where there is a production of goods and consumption of this by the people in a particular place within a country or in a country. So there is stability and sustainability of the investment. So that visibility of linear stages theory of development in the Philippines. We have the basic education curriculum. We have from RSET, which is the Revised Secondary Education Program. Then proceed to the NESC and the NSEC. The NESC is the National Elementary School Curriculum and the National Secondary Education Curriculum. After the NESC and NSEC, there is a change of our education curriculum, basic education curriculum. Then we have this BEC or the basic education curriculum. And because according to some experts, educational experts, that BEC is BEC curriculum is really congested. So that's why we have the revised RBEC or the revised basic education curriculum to decongest the curriculum. So in the BEC and RBEC, we only have 10 years basic education. But because we want to become globally competitive, because we want to become uh, globally competitive, that's why we have the K to 12 basic education program. This is to be able to compete globally, especially our graduates. And then because of pandemic, from K to 12 tech, we have this most essential learning competency. This is to address the time constraint of the learners. And then, in the context of educational progression, we have basic education and tertiary education. In the basic education, we have the K to 12. So, everyone or every learner should start in kindergarten, then will end to grade 12. So that is completing the basic education in the Philippines. So from kinder to elementary to junior high and senior high. So in this level, you cannot jump from one grade 2 to another grade level without completing the previous. So you cannot proceed to grade 2 if you did not complete grade 1, your grade 1. You cannot proceed to junior high, grade 7, if you will not graduate in elementary. So, but there are special cases like the alternative learning system catering the out of school youth. So according to the Department of Education, there should be no learners na maiiwanan. So those who are dropped out, those who are out of school youth, we have this ALS education just to just to continue their education, finish their uh, basic education, and proceed to tertiary education. So in tertiary education, we have 4 levels. So the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. Again, you cannot proceed to second year without finishing your subjects in first year. And you cannot graduate without completing the 4 levels in the tertiary education. So another thing is the growth and development in different sectors. We have agriculture. Before, during the primitive time, the most common is farming in agricultural sector. But today, because of the floating of different technologies and scientific knowledge, technical knowledge, we upgraded from basic to the more modernized uh, farming way of farming, from efficient to the more or the most efficient during this time. And infrastructure, we also have before we don't have only few concrete roads. Then if the place has no good roads, then development or growth in that particular place will be hampered. But if there are good roads, concreted roads, bridges, then the development, growth and development of that particular place will be visible. And many people will migrate to that place and will invest there. So that's why we have businesses all over the country. We also have health sector. So we have the Department of Health, uh, always helping us to combat COVID-19. But during the primitive era, no doctor yet. During that time, there is only what we call quack doctors or yung mga healer from different religious groups and beliefs. But now it is more organized because we have medical doctors, we have nurses, and the catering of hospitals became decentralized compared before. So though this particular municipality in our country is far from the city, but they will no longer be afraid when their constituents ay magkasakit because they have their municipal hospital. And economy. If there is good implementation in terms of infrastructure, that will lead to the rise of our economy because more investors will come in, more people will visit the place if there is bridge and the roads are concrete. So when it comes to technology, alam naman natin yung technology, yun yung nagpapadali ng buhay natin. Nagpapadali ng lahat ng trabaho natin. So all we can do in technology is we need to really use this according to its purpose. So before, during the primitive era, people are using manual tools in farming, in building houses, and building community infrastructures. They're doing that manually. But because of the rise of technology, we are doing better compared before. Because ang pagpapatayo ng mga buildings, pagpapatayo ng mga school buildings, hospitals, and the likes, and other government buildings and private buildings, mas mapapadali siya, it's because of the use of technology. So when it comes to technology consumption, I think we are in the stage 5, the mass consumption of the Philippines. And the Philippine society as a whole. So yan, the Philippine society as a whole. So we can trace back our history from the Spanish era, Americans, Japanese, and Filipinos. So that's the visibility of linear stages theory of development in the Philippines. So that's all. Thank you very much. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. God bless everyone.